bridge collapsed. The mountain road washed out. All the signs are obscured by fog. Your only directions are detours. Eventually it dawns on you. Sometimes you need to get lost to discover where you're supposed to be. Welcome to Merlin's Barn.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Merlin's Barn, broadcasting to you live from Fort Blanket, south of the Yukon. Tonight we have myself, Bob.
Who's Bob?
I'm not Bob.
Not Bob.
Merlin.
Merlin.
I have
Yeah,
a
I'm
picture with
Merlin.
Bob upstairs.
Okay, that's Bob from Beetlejuice, I assume.
It is.
Okay.
The real one, too.
Not race car Bob?
There's a race car, Bob?
Bob race car Bob.
Okay, who else is on tonight?
Is that the anagram thing? Is that
T.
Nicole.
and Matt?
All right, and tonight we are finally broadcasting our interview with Hot Todd, the
No,
legendary
no.
strong man. No?
Not. I'm sorry.
What? Why?
His Pan Am flight out of Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport's been delayed.
He needs to stop with choosing airlines that have ceased to exist. I think that might be part of the problem we're
So,
experiencing
do you
here.
know Air Taxi Service is out also?
Has anybody brought them back to life?
I don't think so.
Does TWA still exist? Or is that one gone too?
It's really hard to resurrect an airline.
American Airlines,
Boeing's
do they
about to
exist?
learn that.
Well, that's not an airline. That's just Boeing is incompetent.
That's the
Either way, it still stands as relatively correct.
Basically, I mean, they're a company that's job is to make things fly, and they lost interest in making things fly, and now we're reaping the results.
Once upon a time, as a race, we thought it'd be cool. As a species, I should say, we thought it would be cool to watch things fly, to fly ourselves. We've really done messed up that one.
Well, the founder of Boeing was really keen on that too. It's just the all the management types. So okay,
Really
with
done messed up that one.
yeah. Well, it's yay.
I'm sure there's a podcast somewhere covering that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called Late Stage Capitalism or something like that.
That one might be a true crime podcast, actually.
Yeah.
With the
Nice.
whistleblowers and
Yeah.
stuff.
So we'll go off of that, and
Will we have Todd
Poor
next
guy
week?
saying I told you so.
so we do. What's that, Tasha?
Will we have Todd next week?
I have no idea. He's got to stop
Matt?
choosing. He's got to stop choosing weird airlines.
send him a message and find out. We need to really try. Like,
Of course, next week never.
we haven't really tried. We need to really try even more.
Next week never works
Been
because
flying for
you
over 2 years.
you never know when this episode has actually been recorded.
It
However,
could
we
have been
may.
last week. We might have had him on last week. I don't know.
Okay, so actually, to give some context of when this is being recorded, they broke ground on your house today. Was that what we were going to do next?
Last week they broke ground.
Last
Wednesday.
week, okay.
Wednesday, he did 2 days because I
You talked to
I
my
met
neighbor.
with our neighbor John, who said it. His digger breaking rock sounded like nails on a chalkboard.
Oh
I
Lord.
can agree
Now
to that.
picture the sound of nails on a chalkboard for
Picture a
2
sound.
days straight.
Picture a sound.
Picture sound.
Pictures.
I mean,
I
why
already
not?
can't picture things. They're making this even worse.
And so yes, and as our home is in West Virginia, which means we have the local rock population. Rocks that are they're native to West Virginia. There's rocks. They're smaller today because they brought out a hydraulic breaker, but they were.
Oh Lord.
There were ones that would say, to put it in a good scale reference, the size of a Volkswagen bus.
Oh,
So
Lord.
this is what we actually call a boulder, I believe. So years ago, when there were riots in Baltimore, there were reporters going, "They're throwing boulders at people," and I'm like, human beings can't throw boulders. Boulders are huge.
They're in
SpongeBob can
Baltimore.
ride
They've
one.
never seen a boulder.
The reporters have probably never seen a boulder.
So those were just cobblestones, right?
Yeah.
Probably cobblestones, not boulders though.
Which actually are bigger than you think, apparently, because they're really deep.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I learned that one day. I was like, oh, look, 'cause I saw some loose ones. I was like, oh, you only see like a 4x4 or 4x6 square, but then it's like 12-inch tall.
So how many boulders have been made from the giant outcropping, I'm assuming, or something at this point?
So yeah, there's several like refrigerator-sized ones and some that are, I guess, merely Volkswagen Beetle size.
Okay.
And
Have you considered
of
starting a
smaller.
landscaping company?
Well, the good news is the neighbor wants some to make a pond. So
Oh, there you go.
we're like, yes, please, take all you like.
Because landscaping companies sell what we jokingly call pedigreed boulders. So you can buy boulders from certain different locations and put them in your yard to put plantings around, rather than maybe getting something useful like a pavilion that you could plant around. You can get a boulder. And,
Neat.
It's an obelisk at that point.
well, an obelisk has an actual, like, shape to it or something.
A
rather
boulder
than
can
just,
have a shape.
well, if you chisel it and make it into an obelisk, yes.
It's boulder shaped.
Not an obelisk.
These would be like Civil War
Depends on
pedigree
how you feel
boulders
about
then,
it.
because they were like witness to the Battle of Shepherdstown.
Yeah, yeah. So you can have witness boulders that you can sell.
I'll even sign them with a Sharpie if you like.
So Matt's
My Matt signed boulder.
so to help fund the excavation at Matt and Nicole's, should you want a Battle of Shepherdstown witness boulder signed by Matt, Nicole, will you sign it too?
Yes.
Nicole will sign them too. You can contact us at merlinsbarn@gmail.com, and I'll refer you to wonderful human beings who have pedigreed boulders for sale for your yard.
Unfortunately, no shipping.
Adopt the boulder. They really need a new home.
Yes, no shipping, and please don't show up with your battered 99 Hyundai to try and move said boulder.
I think there was a sculpture, I'll say, in front of the Hirshhorn at one point. That was some sort of old car like that, smushed by a boulder with a smiley face on it.
That'd be sort of fun.
Ooh,
It was
I
really.
like that.
I was quite pleased with that one. I love the Hirshhorn.
Trabant smushed by a boulder.
I think there's also like TVs inside the
Trabant.
car. It was really like it was.
Yugo smushed by a boulder.
Oh, now that's brutalist.
Yeah, definitively. In so many
Or
ways.
Looney Tunes.
A little bit of each.
Very Wile E. Coyote situation going on here.
So is anything else going on with the with the groundbreaking or the setup or?
What they're saying, there's a hole. It's going to be a basement one day, but there's definitely a hole right now. And yes, we have ample supply of rocks. So we have rocks to line our gardens, rocks to build a rock wall at the entrance of the house, rocks to give to the neighbor for his pond, and there will still be rocks.
So many rocks.
They're free range. They're cage free.
Locally
Cage-free
grown.
rocks. Unlike, what was it, when my parents got the bright idea to put a swimming pool behind their house in Massachusetts, they very quickly discovered that the house had been in somewhat of a little valley, and the builder had filled that little valley with every piece of rubble refuse he could find.
Oh, no.
And so there was an initial estimate to dig the hole for the pool, and then they got partway in and hit all of this rubble. And I was talking with my dad recently, and he said, at that point the choice was, he said, I still had a bill for everything they had dug so far. So it was then pay them to fill it back in, or just eat it and let them keep kerchunking through all of this concrete and rocks and stumps and everything else that had been thrown in there. I think he told me how much more it cost as a result, and I've subsequently forgotten it because it was probably best to not remember it.
So if you start doing the math, every time you get in the pool, you're like, okay, I got in the pool again. It's now half the price per hour. And again, okay, it's a quarter of the price per hour. It's like 20 more years of this in this pool. It only cost me $1,000 an hour.
I think the pool was. I mean, we loved the pool, but it was primarily just a place for mole sacrifices, as far as I could tell, because of the amount of moles that I skimmed out of it every morning.
Oh,
I feel that on the squirrel front.
Luckily, no squirrels. I
But
think.
did your moles ever bloat?
Yes, there were bloated moles.
I never realized how big a squirrel could get.
Ew.
Oh,
I did rescue a ton of dragonflies from the pool, though, and they survived. They would just sort of sit there.
My dad didn't like that I was going through my body farm obsession at the time.
Ew.
you what?
I had a fascination with body farms. It's where they would, for scientific purposes, take corpses that were donated to science to watch how they decay in different environments. It's really cool.
Oh, okay.
okay, I
So they're
totally
called-
misunderstood. I thought we were just trying to grow arms and legs and stuff. I was just like,
I had hopes. It'd be so cool. Just like a little arm out there waving. Oh, the arm's ready.
yeah, it was just this row of arms, and yeah, it was like,
My body farm not cool enough for you?
That would have helped with my principal when he had his accident. We got a very interesting story from Henry today at the 8th grade retreat about a accident he had years ago with a skillet of boiling oil that went flying.
Oh,
They're skin grafts. They're definitive skin grafts.
Did not know that.
Yeah. That was
Ouch.
it was his story about how you need to have friends, because how he got through that was having friends who were able to help him. And then led into good discussion with the boys and stuff.
Well, at least it wasn't putting his hand into a snowblower.
No. That's what those little stick things are for.
Yeah. Dad thought the blades had stopped at that point, though.
So many people are going to be angry with us. All right. Was there another direction we were going? I forgot.
I do have. Okay, so all right. Nicole hasn't even heard this story. This is an interesting story that occurred just today at work. I'm getting ready to sometime here soon go for an extended overseas tour. I'll be gone for a few months.
So we were trying to pack in a bunch of episode recording before Matt
Yeah.
gets abducted.
And I figured this would be a good time to catch up on reading that I've been meaning to do. So I'm messaging with my main facilities contact where I'm going to be heading to, saying, there's this book on steam heating I've been meaning to pick up and read. Because, yes, I'm that person who wants to read a book on steam heating for fun. To which he then says, I know the guy who wrote the Bible on steam heating. And I was like,
Of course.
I'm 99% sure we're talking about the same book.
Steam heating for fun and profit.
See, he says, I'll look it up and I'll get back to you. And so later I checked my email. Of course, there's a time zone difference, so he's offline now, but I got the email from him. Yeah, sure enough, he knows the person who wrote The Lost Art of Steam Heating, the book I was planning on getting. And I'm like, okay, now I need to get an autograph.
That's valid.
And Nicole's face is the one you make if you're watching paint dry, which is a related episode, actually.
See, if I still had my house if I still had my house in Baltimore, I would actually want that book, because the house we had in Baltimore had a gorgeous new steam furnace in it, and I realized you have to be a bit of a scientist and a mechanic to keep those things running, even the brand new ones. And I was in a battle for 7 years trying to get that system to balance out and heat, and just find sources of the little, what are the little valves that really, the release
Little air
valves?
vents?
Yeah. I could have used several books because nobody had any clue what I was talking about. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of a city filled with buildings with these ancient steam heaters in them. Somebody around here has to have a freaking clue.
Yeah, for a couple of years, I worked for a boiler company in D.C., and we had several properties that were steam properties, and I had a base level understanding, but there's all kinds of nuances to the steam. Yeah. And in the radiators, leads to, there will be a deep dive that'll put many of you to sleep as I get into radiators, radiator bronzing, the Spanish flu, and pianos.
It will all fit together. It'll be another Matt's murder board.
And making my own paint and watching it dry, because that's exciting.
And speaking of murder boards,
Making paint's really neat, though.
Maybe that's a good lead into to our Alaska trip.
Yes,
because
it's going to require a murder board to understand everything that happens.
Because we will hit the beginning of the multiple rejections and border crossings in this one. So is there anything else we wanted to cover before we get into that? Or?
No, that should do.
Okay. No, that's good.
There's always more stuff, but
we'll save that for the next record for the next recording.
Yeah, I got a good horror story one for you. It gets closer to Halloween.
Ooh.
At some point, we've got to cover our wonderful waitress as well.
I got my foot radiated yesterday.
Irradiated?
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't irradiated though.
Shut up.
Okay.
I swear that was autocorrect.
Tasha was viciously attacked by a table yesterday.
And by her autocorrect. Their autocorrect, I'm sorry.
Thank
you.
Ingratiated. Thank you for autocorrecting yourself, Matt.
Can we edit that? I really didn't mean to make that mistake.
No, it's okay.
I'm horrified. I'll get over it. All right. So, what we're going to try and do, one of the things we're working through is you're going to get I don't know how many of these there are going to be. I'm trying to chunk it up. A handful of episodes on the Alaska arrest trip. So at this point, you've either heard the lead into the Alaska arrest trip, where we discuss road trips and then basically everything that went wrong trying to get us on the road. And then the next steps are going to be the chunks along the way that actually got us to Dawson Creek and the Alaska Highway.
And if you haven't heard that one, go back and listen to the entire back catalog. It's one of the episodes. I can't remember which one off the top of my head.
It'll say Alaska on it.
So just listen to them all.
Yeah, because it'll be. As of this recording,
Nice
we haven't posted it yet. Yes, definitively listen to them all. It's fun. It's fun watching the numbers go up. We feel like we're actually doing something for a reason. So, the last episode, I think we left off with basically we had just thrown everything into the Jeep. Who was with me when we recorded that one? I know you were. Was everybody
3 of
else?
us, I think.
Oh yeah, because we all discussed road trips, so we were all here. I think you were here too.
I don't remember.
Maybe. Yeah. No. It's
We talked about driving to Oshkosh.
Yes.
okay. Yeah. So we were all here. So the last one, and feel free to interject as I say things and roll along here. The last one we were discussing basically everything that went wrong, and we finally gave up on any level of planning and just got our Jeeps hitched up. So I think it was like around July 21st-ish, 2017, somewhere around there, we rolled into Mount Airy, Maryland in the morning to meet up with our friends Joe and Emily, and our rig.
Oh wait, hold on. Just for a
Yes.
moment, for like our 3 international listeners, Maryland is the opposite side of the continent from Alaska. So this is the very beginning of the trip.
Oh my, it's so far opposite. This trip was
At least it was in Florida.
28 days, of which I drove for 27 of them and accumulated over 13,000 miles during those 28 days. Which I know especially from folks in other parts of the world where you don't drive that far, that's sort of like saying a million or something like that.
And
You
really,
just
if you're
can't-
Americans that are using a VPN to make it look like you're downloading from Ireland or Germany, we're just going to keep patronizing you.
Explain our one Irish listener. So our rig was was my black Jeep Junior, which is a black 4-door 2013 Wrangler, towing the World War II Jeep Mortimer. Junior is called Junior because, well, Mortimer's from 1942 and it's very much Junior's great grandfather. We met up with Joe and Emily, and Joe was driving a 1952, I think, CJ3B, which is sort of a high hood thing. It doesn't really matter because Joe had custom built everything. So it had a custom frame that he had designed, it had a updated engine, it had a transmission that he'd designed, and he was towing an unregistered military trailer behind it that he had put a hinged plywood lid. What's that?
I have a question.
Oh, I'm blind.
I'm aware.
Yes, thank you for the arrow because yes.
Okay. So when he said that he basically redesigned like the body and stuff for the Jeep, is it then
Not the body. That's the only thing he didn't redesign.
Okay. So was it the chassis?
Frame. Yeah.
Frame.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it had a frame that he had custom built. He had custom designed, welded, and so he'd built the frame. He had chosen different axles for the frame. He had actually had a transmission built to his specs, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Because I was going into, is it then at that point still a 50s Jeep
Shut
or?
up.
We had this discussion the
No.
other day, so I wanted to
No.
clarify.
Shut up. No.
We had a
I got you. I got you, Tasha. It's a
Thank you.
Jeep-shaped object.
There we go. Yeah. No, Tasha, I'm entirely in agreement with you. You know, there are a lot of these out here that are like that are like it's a modern rig.
No, I just need clarification for myself.
Yeah,
to
no, it was a
understand
very
better.
modern piece with a vintage body on it that made that makes just a really cool combination.
Nice.
But if you were to look at it, I was like, I wouldn't even. I mean, officially, the title 1952 CJ3B. What is it? We could split hairs for weeks on end because of everything that's in it and some of the stuff that's in it that actually doesn't exist in anything else.
So it was a Jeep in name only.
Yeah.
It was a tribute to the former Jeep. It was.
Yeah, well, in a way,
like
and it's
that.
an amazing off-road Jeep because he's taken it on other epic trips. So he did over-design the transmission such that it could do really low gears, but it could also go really fast. So every now and then he would just disappear over the horizon at 80 miles per hour,
Okay, that's kind of fun.
and we'd just be like, well, they'll be like up in like the Dakotas, and we're just like, well, it's a straight road that goes for 1,000 miles, so eventually we'll catch up with him.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, he had a military trailer behind it, and that had a hinged lid made out of plywood that he had one of those rooftop tents on. And then our gear was pretty much, we had something called a camprite tent, which is this dome tent on a cot, which is freaking awesome because you don't have to worry about rain or rocks or anything like that. And then I had vintage camp stoves, and then beyond that, it was a lot of whatever we could grab. We were under the delusion at that point that we would be driving, we would be dropping Junior somewhere at the base of the Alaska Highway and driving Mortimer all the way up it, despite the fact that we had just pulled the engine off a shelf and put it into Mortimer. Once again, listen to the last episode, the last Alaska episode, to find out what happened to Mortimer that we were doing that. So we started out on this, and the first part's not really, there's not a lot going on, because Pennsylvania, we basically went up to Breezewood, headed west. We saw I think the only thing exciting in Pennsylvania was we stopped at the Flight 93 Memorial because we realized we were going by it. And quite honestly, where is that? Western PA?
Yes, it is. It's pretty far western PA.
Yeah, it's actually it turns out our headmaster of my school, he was headmaster of a school that was literally right in that area at September 11th.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he had a story about that a couple of years ago. So yeah, the plane went down, and they had all sorts of security up because they were trying to figure out what was going on, because they're like, we're a private school in the middle of nothingness. Why did a plane just come out of everywhere? That's an amazing memorial. I really recommend seeing that if you're out that direction. And that was Pennsylvania. We got into Ohio, and really we had no planning whatsoever. We were entirely going under what Joe had suggested originally, which I cringed at, and now I was just rolling with because we'd had no time to plan, which was drive until we get tired and hope we can find a campground. So we've got my ex trying to communicate with Joe's girlfriend. Now, here's the thing. Joe's Jeep had a bikini top on it. That's basically a tiny tarp. It's not as sexy as it sounds. It's not as sexy as it sounds. It's like it's basically a tiny tarp that goes between the roll bar and the windshield.
It's a sunshade. It only works between like 11 and 2 p.m.
Yeah, it's useless. So they had no doors, no, as far as I remember, no full roof or anything like that. And so Emily and my ex are trying to communicate and find campgrounds. Well, I'm just trying to keep up with Joe while towing a World War II Jeep. And Joe just figures we're all going to figure it out. So eventually, I think Emily, somehow or other, through the wind, managed to talk with a campground that stayed open late for us that the office stayed open late for us to go into. All I remember was mosquitoes. Amazingly enough, we went to Alaska, where the state bird is the mosquito. And our worst mosquitoes were in Ohio. I mean,
Forgetting that because it's so swampy, like it's technically swampy in Alaska,
yes,
right?
yes.
So like mosquitoes.
Yes,
I never
tonnage.
think about it.
Yeah, tonnage of mosquitoes.
I've heard like horror stories from like a coworker who like worked on like the North Slope in an oil field for a little while.
I don't.
I've heard they're like ginormous.
I do not understand. I've read so many books on the Alaska Highway, on the construction, and I don't understand how the guys survived it. I've seen so many photos of things of things they would do to keep the mosquitoes off. All the varieties of layers of mosquito netting and stuff like that, and how you're working through all of that swampy disaster while being eaten alive by mosquitoes and living almost entirely off of hash. I guess I should do an episode on that too at some point.
That would be
of
a
the
good like
Alaska Highway.
wrap to the whole series.
Yeah, just
The history of the Alaska Highway.
history of the Alaska Highway. So Ohio, we had mosquitoes. That was the most excitement we had in Ohio. We continued on to.
Consider yourself lucky.
Yeah, it was.
Could have been a tornado.
This is true.
Yeah, no bad
There have
rain.
been some gnarly ones up there.
No tornadoes. You're right. What was it? Tasha's been to 2 towns that specialized in tornadoes.
Oh my god, that's right.
Yes. We headed on
We
to
can put a
Illinois.
picture from the plaque that I got while I was up there last time.
Yeah, we can put that up. We headed on to Illinois. All I have to say about Illinois was we had a steadfast agreement to some way of avoiding Chicago on the way back because, my God, the tolls. Have you ever driven around Chicago? And then you've got two vehicles, one with a trailer and one towing another vehicle behind it. And it was getting to the point where the tolls were so horrific. We didn't finally do it because we just wanted to get out of there, but I was getting to the point of we were getting ready to pull our rig over and have my ex drive the newer Jeep and me drive the World War II Jeep separately through tolls because it would be cheaper. Because the World War II Jeep as a tow trailer was so much worse for some reason. So
if it's anything like the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, there's a price for a 2-axle vehicle. It's that same amount again for every additional axle.
Yeah.
So, for example, $2.50 for your Jeep for like junior, and then $5 for the Jeep you're towing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that, and that's what we were encountering. And it was like, it's cheaper, but at the same time, we're just like, it's hot. We're backed up in traffic. We don't feel like dealing with this. And we were afraid that Joe and Emily were going to melt because it was just we were stuck, especially around Chicago, in just like steaming roads, just in bumper to bumper traffic for hours. So survived Chicago. Where was it? I had to start making notes as to where we went next over that. Went through Illinois.
Wisconsin?
Cheese. Yes. Yep. Yeah, there we go. Cheese. Thank you. Yeah, because there is...
it's always Wisconsin with this podcast.
Yeah. This was my first encounter with the cheese insanity.
Oh.
I mean, this is when I first... I mean, we got into Wisconsin. My excitement was that the campground we were at was near the House on the Rock, which I desperately want to go see someday. But we pulled over at a KOA... which was, KOAs are nice. They're sort of predictable. I mean, it's just, it's a lawn, but it's nice, and the bathrooms are really clean, and it's just, it's predictable. And it was right behind a humongous cheese shop with a giant cow up on a plinth visible from the highway over a sign that just said, cheese!
Wow.
Yeah, and we're just like, wow,
I
that's...
can actually visualize that.
Yeah, that's
impressive.
Possibly because you've seen it in the book.
No.
Oh, okay. Because there's a photo in the book.
At some point, but...
So there was that, and so in celebration of that, I made I broke out the camp stove and made a rather watery mac and cheese for all of us. And Joe went to a fellow named Joe DeYoung's, who's a machinist. This was the second Jeep he was rescuing on the trip because Joe was having some pinion seal issues. And apparently the night before we'd come into town, there was a Willie's wagon, which for a period of time slowly became the bane of so many people's existence, that ended up at Joe DeYoung's shop. And that will come back into play in a short bit. Basically, the guy driving it, the engine had been built for him by somebody who I think owed him money rather than going to the best machinist you could find. And and then they'd used new old stock things like a new old stock fuel pump. Matt, could you explain what might be wrong with a new old stock fuel pump?
Oh, let's see here. So what year is this?
This is 2017.
Do you have ethanol gas?
Ethanol gas, and my concern with a new old stock fuel pump that's been sitting on the shelf for 50 or 60 years is, how's that rubber to start with?
Yeah. Rubber's an organic material, so it's deteriorating from basically once it's been removed from the tree and it's being processed, it is starting to deteriorate. So give it several decades and then throw in modern gas that'll eat it.
Yeah.
For lunch. And
yay, ethanol, which shouldn't be in our fuel anyways, but hooray for the corn lobby. So that was there. So Joe DeYoung is this absolutely awesome fellow. And he actually he's a machinist. He actually made a tool for Joe Biedenkopf to fix his Jeep. And so the following day, we had our cheese, we had our sloppy mac and cheese. Following morning, my ex went up to the McDonald's to get breakfast, and we truly learned the Wisconsinite obsession with cheese that morning because she walked over there It was across the street from the cheese shop, and I think it was like 7 in the morning or something. And she comes back. She's handing out breakfast burritos, and she says, and she's just like, they're crazy. And we're like, why? And she says, there is a line outside the cheese shop. And we're packing up the Jeeps and getting ready to go. And we're pulling out there, and they've just opened the door, and the cheese shop is. Well, by the time we left, the cheese shop parking lot was completely full, and the shop was completely full with people in there buying cheese early in the morning.
Oh, we touched on this in the Roadside America episode.
Yeah, and then I think John had commentary on it too. I don't know if they're all just nuts for cheese curds or something.
Well,
but
the curds are definitely different when they're fresh.
Yeah.
Than even 12 hours old. Like they're different.
But yeah, so this was like our first and my first experience with, oh my God, they're completely insane for cheese here, because then we just started seeing the cheese shops absolutely everywhere.
So what are you doing with the curds?
Biting
I don't know
them to listen to
anything
them
about
scream.
cheese. I'm not a fan of cheese in most cases.
You didn't listen to the episode to the roadside.
I
Weren't you here for
probably
it?
asked the same damn question.
Generally, you just eat them like they're a snack cheese, although you can also deep fry them as an alternative and then eat them. But they are soft and kind of squishy, and when they're fresh, they squeak. They squeak against your teeth.
I don't like any of that. No, thank you. Goodbye.
Which is probably why you forgot about it after the last time.
Probably. I'll go back to forgetting now.
Block that out of your mind.
Yeah, block it out. All right, so we got going. I think that's the day. Yeah, that's the day we made it into Minnesota, and nothing exciting in Minnesota. We just sort of made it through there, and then we went on to North Dakota. We had this goal of getting to Fargo. The major goal was to get to Glacier National Park in Montana in time to be able to spend 2 full days wandering around Glacier National Park, taking photos, exploring the place. So that was the plan. What happens to good plans?
Bye-bye.
Bad things. So in North Dakota, just drove for forever. And our first stop in North Dakota, I think we were just. This was a campground we didn't even communicate with anybody at. We just sort of found it by desperately searching. And I think it might have been 8 or 9 o'clock at night when we pulled into this place. Couldn't even get a look at the town we were in. It was basically like, found this place. It was a little bit run down. There was maybe like one camper off in a back corner. It was a little bit creepy, but there was a bathhouse, and the bathhouse was clean.
Things good.
Yeah, so I guess it was like dusk because we started pulling everything out to cook, and for the last couple of days we'd noticed an occasional carpenter ant walking across our dashboard, and we're just like, okay, so we have an ant.
Just one?
Just figured it was one. We had a quick learning experience because I had this roll-up table that was wooden that I had been in our Scotty camper, and I had thrown that in the back of Junior, and I had this is my first time getting it out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the last time I cooked at the KOA, we had tables to cook on because it was they had picnic tables. This place didn't have picnic tables.
Podcasters, this is what we call foreshadowing.
Yes. So we dump out so I dumped the wooden table out and immediately look around, and there's just hundreds of there's no smushing.
No, sploosh of ants. Like, they're just a tidal wave of
Yeah,
ants.
there's just hundreds of carpenter ants came flying out, along with thousands of their larvae.
Oh, forgot about that one.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so I shook the table out because I'm like, save the table. Luckily, they hadn't done anything to eat the table. So I took the roll-out wooden table, put it aside, and I'm staring at this whole disaster. And the carpenter ants assessed their situation. I hadn't moved the bag yet that the table had been in, and within a half an hour, all of the larvae were moved back inside the carry bag for the table.
Goodbye, bag.
So they became North Dakota ants.
Did it become a North Dakota bag?
Did you leave
Yes.
the bag? It's just like, I admire your tenacity as a civilization. Have the bag.
Yeah, no, you were hitting exactly on what happened here. It's just like, wow, I'm really impressed. And that was fast. And there's a tree line over there And so, yeah, I just introduced the bag to a pile of sticks in the tree line, and they became North Dakota ants at that point.
The bag was no longer yours.
Yeah, no, the
It
bag was
belonged to the
definitively
ants.
theirs. It was really, I mean, it's just like so much larva, and they had it, and
There
they,
was probably enough ants they could pick up the bag and take it with them.
if we left them long enough, God only knows, but it was just
Little
really,
drums beating, just like the fundraising.
it was just really impressive, just their group decision of, what do? Save the larva, put them in the bag. We don't know what this is, but it's our home. So the following morning we wake up and we actually discover we're in this a nice little town that we were off the edge of their Pioneer Museum or something, which as you go across the West, almost every town out there has a Pioneer Museum. We thought that we were like, oh, there's a one-room schoolhouse, there's this, there's that, or whatever was there. But yeah, as you go, and don't take the major highways because that's boring and you'll miss everything. Follow like what we did. What is the railway up there? It's just the High Line across up near the Canadian border, I think.
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that's what they call it. It's just the High Line.
Yeah.
So we got up, found breakfast sandwiches in the gas station, in the gas and go. Started rolling along with our plan of we're going to Glacier, and that's about when things fell apart. Because we got a phone call from the fellow with the rapidly deteriorating Willie's wagon, the ongoing 24-hour mechanical party, throwing wrenches moment by moment. That had 3 guys in it, and they had somehow or other made it as far as a little town called Estevan in Canada, and blown the engine. And at that point, we're getting a call that they were trying to find an engine. And so we pulled over at this massive gas station that's like a good portion the size of whatever a Buc-ee's is, because it looks like Buc-ee's are huge. They don't have those up there, though. And we're calling places trying to find, like we just passed a scrap yard, so we're calling them to see if they had F-head engines. We're calling around North Dakota to see what Jeepers are in North Dakota. And finally, we got this call of, well, the engine's been pulled. There's a machinist taking a look at it. We have a bunch of stuff that is supposed to go to Dawson Creek, and we have a guy with us who needs to be rescued. We found out later this is a complete piece of misinformation because he'd called a couple people, and there was another vehicle coming in from another direction. So this was made into a disaster for no reason.
Oh boy.
So we finally made the decision. Joe's a firefighter. I'm apparently ridiculously helpful. The ex and Joe's girlfriend came to a very quick realization that Joe and I debating for a half an hour was pointless, because no matter what, we were heading to Canada to rescue the one fellow from the Willie's wagon. So when we declared we were doing that, there was just this look of, why were you discussing it that long? We figured it out a half an hour ago.
You're just going to do this.
Yeah. And quite honestly, if we'd left him there, he would have been better off. But we won't even get to that in this episode.
Oh boy.
That'll be the next episode after this. Because we go up, and so we decide to head up. I just found a note. Yeah, we were at a wonderful place called Devil's Lake when we started making phone calls to find engines, and finally came to that decision. There's all these wonderful names like Devil's Lake, Dead Man's Lake, things like that. Places that we had. Destruction.
What happened there?
Yeah, Destruction Bay, one of my favorite places on the Alaska Highway. All wonderful names that just go, hey, go here. No, don't go here. Don't go here. It's better off. So we head up, and we're headed for the border. And Joe has a rifle. It might have been a shotgun with slugs, because of concerns about bears on the Alaska Highway. So he's got his bear gun and his ammo, and paperwork to take it into Canada.
Okay.
But he does not. But he's like, well, I don't want to deal with this on a trip where we're just running over the border to get somebody and coming back. So we pull over. So we're driving for the border, and there's just huge expanse of nothingness. And occasionally you'll see one of those oil pumps rocking back and forth in the distance. And finally he spots a culvert So we pull over, and he takes the gun and the ammo and stashes them in the culvert under the road. And we continue up for the Canadian border. This will come into play in a little bit, too. So,
I feel like shades of like trying to bury the money by that fence post in Fargo.
Yeah, we're getting sort of Fargo-ish, and the poor guy we rescued, I think, was really wondering if he'd gone from the straight from the pan into the fire with us. So we head for the border, and I think Joe and Emily got there first, and they just pulled their whole rig straight into like the Quonset hut for like tear down and inspection. It's for like shunk, they're gone. Oh crap. We'd made a mistake. The mistake was I had 3 pieces of firewood under the back seat of the World War II Jeep. So once again, to picture our rig, this is a black 4-door Jeep towing a World War II Jeep with a tow bar. And there's 3 pieces of firewood in the back of the World War II Jeep. And yes, I've seen those signs, do not move wood. I'm sorry, I forgot the wood was in there. It's a bigger problem when you reach the Canadian border, because we got rejected. And we got sent over to the American side, where you have to pull over, and you have to go in and explain to them that you have been a moron and tried to carry American wood into Canada. At which point they sit you in what I felt like was the dunce corner for a little bit and tell them he'll be with you soon. You sit there, and you sit there. And then they send out this little old man. And this is a pure description of him. His movement was probably about at a half a mile per hour. And he finally gets to us, and he says, follow me outside, and then follow me with your vehicle to the dumpster. And they had a dumpster specifically for firewood.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah,
This is a regular occurrence.
Yeah,
This has happened before.
we go out, we get in the Jeep, towing a Jeep with 3 pieces of firewood in the back of the second Jeep, and we follow him at a half mile per hour shuffle. We're literally driving behind him with his white hair, his stoop, and his shuffle. And he shuffles, I don't know how long it took, all the way over to the dumpster that we put the firewood in. And then we were released. We go back around the Canadian side, and they stare at us funny. And this is the beginning of many, many times where we get stared at funny and finally just shouted at the Canadian border. And I have no problem with the Canadian border people. It's just, this was the insanity. So, and I remember they asked us, they're like, so how many days do you plan to be in Canada? 2 hours. What? 2 hours. What are you doing? We're going to Estevan. We're picking a man up. We're heading back. Really? The other Jeep? Yep, all of us. We're going to be in Canada about 2 hours, and then we're out of here. Then we're gone. All right. So we head up to Estevan, and they've got the Willys wagon in this beautiful repair shop with this giant like crane type thing, and the engine's out of it. And our poor friend Rick is standing there with his gear, and I mean, my ex and I had really packed Junior, so we had to like remove stuff from Junior and pack it in the back of the World War II Jeep. We carved out this little nook for Rick, because the back seats of the 4-door Wranglers, you can either fold down one side where it's just the right where it's the passenger side and the middle seat, or you can flop down just the driver's side. So we were able to flop down. We were able to finally get just the driver's side back seat up, so he could like exist in there with stuff piled around him.
I feel like those who grew up with 80s station wagons probably can relate.
Yeah.
Just enough room for you and your legs, and then all your dad's stuff.
Yeah.
Family vacations in the 80s?
You're having flashbacks.
Except
That's why
in
also
this
so
case,
much.
It's like Dad being abducted by the kids, because Rick's, I think Rick's a Vietnam veteran, Huey pilot, and
so he's sitting back there going, so this is what it was like.
yeah, so we get him. We didn't realize basically what we slowly realized over the next few days was that he was almost in this hostage situation, is what I'll call it, where every night that wagon would break down, and Rick is one of the foremost vintage Jeep carburetor specialists in the United States. And because it was broken and he was a mechanic, they'd stay up until 4 in the morning. And Ricky is much older he's older than all of us and probably should be let to maybe get some sleep. And we also found out that I think they ate pizza every single night, and he was about to go insane just because of the pizza. So we get back, we get him in, we get across the border, we pull into this gas station where I load up with Monster energy drinks. And the gas station attendant says to me, he says, ask where we're going. And I said, we're following the High Line west. And he says, the only place you're going to find with a restaurant open for dinner is Crosby, North Dakota. So he says, when the first sign you see for Crosby, North Dakota, pull in there. We're like, okay, we know we have a destination for dinner. We start heading south. Joe remembers that he's got a gun in a culvert. So we pull over for that, and Rick gets to witness and then get explained that, yes, that's a gun and ammunition that we should put in a culvert because we didn't want to take it across the border. Which point I think that was the point where Rick starts maybe wondering if he'd gone from the pan and into the fire. Because he's gone from the crazy people with the broken Jeep, with the Jeep constantly breaking, to the crazy people hiding guns in culverts out in the middle of the oil fields. So we go from... I don't know how long we drove. It might have been another hour or two before we reached, we come along and we see a long-defunct 40s or 50s gas station with a peeling sign pointing off to the right that just says Crosby. And I look at that going, this does not bode well. This is like pointing us into a ghost town or something like that. And so we take the right and we start driving in, and it's sort of neat. Because on the side of the road to our left, we're starting to see like rows of those old steam traction engines from the late 1800s. And then there's like a rundown hotel on our right. And then there's this warehouse type thing with lights on inside with like a 1920s car that I hadn't seen before sticking outside the door. Rows of antique trucks and cars next to it. Rows of antique cars in front of the warehouse. And then... what was it? The restaurant was called the Red Rooster. It was this one little red shack-like restaurant next to this antique car warehouse.
It sounds like the opening to a horror movie.
Yeah, well, it looked like an opening to a horror movie, too. And so we pull in there because there's space for the Jeeps, and we're staring at in the view we could see of the warehouse, like looking in the door with the lights, I'm seeing like a lot of pre-World War I cars lined up.
Oh, wow.
So this is a heck of a collection. So we go into the restaurant and we order, and Joe decides to step out and see if he can find whose collection this is, because he talked with the girl at the counter. And
I thought you were going to say cell service.
What's that?
I thought you were going to say cell service.
Oh, jeez.
He stepped out of the restaurant to find cell service.
There's no cell service out there. There's just hand crank telephones, and no, I'm sorry. But we look out the window at one point, and there's a old fellow on a mobility scooter out there talking to Joe, who turns out he's the guy who owns that collection. So I step out while we're waiting for dinner and talk with Joe and the fellow. And the fellow says, I have somebody you need to talk to. He says, I'm going to go in and make a phone call. So Joe and I look around a little bit, and then we go back inside the restaurant. And dinner took a long time to be ready. But after a little bit, this older gentleman walks in, baseball cap, beelines straight to our table, asks if we're the folks with the rigs out front. And that was when we met an absolutely amazing fellow named John Benter. John Benter at the time was, I think in the book I said he was 94, but he was actually 93. He was 93 years old, was a World War II veteran, and was still running the auto shop he had opened when he came back from World War II.
Wow.
And he said, oh yeah, so and so called me up. He says, I apparently need to show you my collection. And he says, I have a vehicle collection in a museum across town if you want to see it. And we're like, oh yeah, hell yeah. And he says, well, fine. He says, I had dinner. He says, do you mind if I sit with you while we have dinner? We're like, sure. So we ended up chatting with this really cool fellow. we find out that he finds out that it's. I mean, we were running we were heading for the Alaska Highway to drive it on the 75th anniversary. He had driven the Alaska Highway on the 50th anniversary in a World War II Studebaker deuce-and-a-half truck.
Cool.
That they had put the canvas up over the back and built a house inside of. So it looked like a World War II truck from the outside, but had a little house built inside the bed on the back. And so we finished up dinner, and we went over to his place, and oh my Lord, he owned a couple or a few blocks in Crosby. And Crosby turns out to be a county seat type of place. We just absolutely came in on the wrong side of town. And he had...
Came in the back entrance.
Yeah, and he had like just a lot outside of the place. He would rescue, I mean, there were these things called FWD plow trucks from like the 20s and 30s. Massive monstrosities. Only surface rust on them because it's too cold to use salt up there. And he'd rescue these things. He'd see one in a scrapyard and rescue it before it went to a crusher. So the stuff he had outside was amazing. And then inside, he had the entire history of his auto shop, all the tow trucks, lined up against one wall of this massive pole barn warehouse. And most of them were Dodge Power Wagons. So, yeah. So just picture like 40s, 50s Dodge Power Wagons painted up in a shop livery, all with the rigs still on them. He had a museum section that had like photos of him during World War II. I think he was some sort of construction in the Pacific.
CB.
I don't know if he was CB. I think he was Army. I'd have to go
fair.
dig back into the book again. I was trying to remember it. I was trying to review the book earlier, and now I've forgotten. And so he had a section. He had one of those weird, I think there's Alice Chalmers, like snow tractor type things. That's treads and ski. That's got tracks and then skis on it. And then inside there were just rows and rows of vehicles, including the Studebaker that he took on that he took up the Alaska Highway. And his favorite was actually a little, which was great for us being Jeepers going on this Jeep trip, was a little CJ2A from the 1940s that was battered, had a perfect patina on it, and he just loved it the way it was, and he had no intent to do anything with it other than drive it and just maintain it. And yes, that was just, and it's hard to describe. It's sort of one of those things where I don't make money off of the book. I priced it just so that basically it pays for itself, because if I made money off of it, it'd be too ridiculously expensive. Nobody would buy it. But it's really, if you look in the book, which you can get off of, I don't know, the Substack has a link to my blog, I think. But I'll put a link up on the Substack when we get these up. But there's a whole chapter on Crosby, North Dakota, that has photos of John Benter's collection. And the neat thing was when I wrote the book, and had it printed and had the first printing done, where a whole pile of people had done pre-orders, I sent a copy. I found his address and sent a copy to him as a surprise. And I don't remember why. There was some reason for this, but his nephew called me a couple months later and asked me to give his uncle a call. And his nephew said to me, he says, John is just so excited to see his town in a book. And it really said a lot about him as an individual. He's there in full color in the book and pictures. His collection is there in full color in the book and pictures. What was he excited about? That his town was in a book. That's what he was the most excited about. I remember calling him up and chatting with him about that. And he was just even chatting with him in person, he was just so excited that his town was in a book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He only passed away, I think about a year or two ago. The funny thing was, I was down at the Military Through the Ages event in Jamestown, Virginia, which is a military, for those who don't know, it's a military timeline event for reenactors. And I'm talking to a lady who mentions she's from North Dakota, and I mentioned Crosby. And she goes, and it turned out that she and her husband had lived right outside of Crosby, so I mentioned John Benter, and she knew him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so we got chatting, and I told her about this experience, and then she's talking about it. It was just one of these, and she just finally looks at me. She says, well, I know I stopped to talk to you all then. Because it was just a ridiculous small world type moment.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, Yeah. So that's I think that's probably a good stopping point. And that's Crosby, North Dakota. And so
John Hunter.
and yeah, John Benter. And the next one we'll jump in on will take us from a wonderful place called Plentywood, Montana, that all I can figure out is named that is because maybe somebody found plenty of wood there once. I'm not sure. The next episode
Is there
will
no
take...
longer plenty of wood there?
There's nothing there. There's nothing.
Woof.
It is devoid of anything. I'm sorry if anybody is listening who is from Plentywood.
They clear cut it.
It's maybe there was like a piece of wood that got blown in or something like that. So we'll
That
cover
was just enough. It was plenty.
the Plentywood and Glacier National Park, and then 1 million border crossings. And probably in that one we'll do like a 19 or 20 hour drive too, straight. So, anybody else have anything they want to throw in?
I have a question.
I might have an answer.
How does it feel knowing that you smuggled carpenter ants across state lines?
Coming up in the next episode will be the remaining ant and his adventure.
This is true. Yes, I remember him.
There is one more ant living in the Jeep as we end this episode.
The pioneering ant.
Well, I guess they're a good part of the reason why we don't carry wood into other places,
Yes.
or roll up wood tables in bags that we kept in our camper for some reason. So I know I have probably violated a whole pile of things by transporting God knows how many carpenter ants to North Dakota, but I'm pretty sure they're the same ones that are there.
Country-wise, within a country, it's typically fine. Once you get across,
Well, state by state, it's bad. It's just
it's not as bad. But
No,
when you
it's- it-
go, like,
it's bad.
country border.
I think the biggest issue is probably the Fargo accents versus the Baltimore accents with the ants.
Really?
Oh, it's
That's our
be a
problem
lot
with
of-
the ants?
a lot of misunderstandings.
Not parasites or anything like that?
Pulling your guns.
The
it's gonna be-
accents?
Yeah. It's so Lord only knows what's happened up there with those ants.
You
But
just brought gang warfare to North Dakota ants.
oh my God, yeah,
Ants come marching
Balmer
on,
ants
on.
in Fargo. You betcha. All right, so that's the end of this one, and look forward to the next installment. And thank you all for listening. Hopefully nobody's fallen off their treadmill. Signing off, this is Merlin.
T.
Nicole.
And Matt, have a good night.
And the ants are marching.
And the ants are marching 2 by 2. Hurrah, hurrah. There we go. Thanks for listening. Y'all take care.
Finnegan versus the ants.
What's that?
Finnegan versus the ants.